Welcome back to the Upper Transfer Show, the weekly show we bring you from the Upper Tier podcast on the Dynamo Podcast Network. This is your weekly look back at transfer news and gossip surrounding the Premiership and the main European leagues. Joining me, as always, my co-host on the Transfer Show, Dean. How you doing, my man?
Couldn't be better. Just have the main man whispering it. What's that, Killian? Let's see you next year. Yeah, no problem, pal.
I suppose, where do we begin this week? I mean, this is where the dial gets turned up now. The season's about to finish. Champions League and Europa League to come next week. And then we get full pelt into the transfer window. But it's going to be exciting, isn't it? A lot of teams are being linked with a lot of top players, as always, in the Premier League. A lot of teams need to strengthen to bridge that gap with City. Chelsea have done some fine business there last summer, but they're going to, no doubt, they're going to add to it with Thomas Tuchel in there now. He's going to want to put his own stamp on that team. But we also have the interesting add-on to this that there's a lot of managers leaving and managers that have to be replaced as well. I don't think I've ever seen as many potential vacant managers' jobs in the Premier League in any one time. I mean, Spurs are still trying to find a manager. We know Roy Hodgson is returning today after the Palace game with Liverpool. We know that Nuno is leaving Wolves. So, there's a real merry-go-round going around here at the moment, which is going to be a really interesting dynamic to the transfer window as well. But let's kick off some of the transfer news this week. Let's start with Joe Willock. Joe Willock up at Newcastle, absolute baller, having an unbelievable time up there. And kind of gave indications this week when he came out talking that he was loving his football up there and wasn't in any hurry to go back to Arsenal. What you thinking on him?
Outstanding. I think he's 7 goals in his last 6 games, or 7 goals in the last 7 games. I think he's only started 2. Now, I could be wrong on that. It's one of those things like Jesse Lingard, you're playing for a big club. You know in yourself you have the potential to play every week somewhere else. Newcastle have finished the game very, very well, or the season very, very well. And he's probably been the bright spark that's ignited that little run that saved him. I think Newcastle is a great move for him. But maybe the possibility that because he's done so well in the last few months, he's probably looking at that Arsenal team and saying, I can put something in here. I can do a job there. It's a touch and go kind of thing because, big clubs like Arsenal, if there's money coming in to invest, they're going to overlook the likes of Joe Willock. It's that's just the way it is, Yeah. Young English player coming through. I'd love to see a Newcastle, same way with Lingard. I'd love to see him stay at West Ham. He's fulfilling his potential now, and he's shown it like in the toughest league in the world. Again, it's all down to Arteta, really, isn't he? Is he going to look and say, it could be just a little flash in the pan, but players showing that kind of potential, Niall, from it, you have to give them a chance.
And especially with the fans coming back as well. I mean, if those Newcastle fans come back, imagine Joe Willock. I mean, he could become an icon up there, really, when you think about
it. Newcastle as a whole, it's just unfortunate the way the owner is. Newcastle are a Champions League level club. When that place is full, I was there when Liverpool beat them. I think it was 5-0 many moons ago. Sturridge scored a hat-trick. That place when it's full is fucking electric. That club gets anywhere up towards that top 6, top 8, gets a bit of European football. It's going places. Unfortunate, Mike Ashley is a money-hungry tramp. He's another parasite in football. Only gives a fuck about what's going into his own pocket and not what's going on. To him, staying up on the last day of the season, every season is enough for him. He doesn't care. Anything else is a bonus. But as you said, couple of good players. There's a few very good players there. Saint Maxim, I can see someone coming in for him in the summer. He's too good to be hanging around the bottom of the table. He's a very, very good player. Newcastle get in 4 or 5 good players. He's going to stick with Steve Bruce, really, isn't he? He'll see this as a good season with Steve Bruce. If they had a good manager, who didn't play one type of football, and when it comes to playing the big names, sitting back and damage limitations, like the world's the oyster for clubs like Newcastle. They just need a business savvy owner, and no disrespect to Steve Bruce, he's kept them up, but if they got a decent manager in and a business savvy owner with a few bob to invest, the Premier League, the rest of the teams in the Premier League should be on red alert, because they are a good club.
Yeah, I think the problem for Newcastle, they're in that kind of whirlpool where if they want to bring in 2 or 3 players, they have to sell 2 or 3 players. And that's the problem. So they have to kind of devalue themselves down to bring themselves back up again. And it's a real problem for them as a club, as you said, with the ownership there. Yeah. Leeds looking to make Jack Harrison permanent. I think that has to be the end game there, doesn't he? He's been outstanding for Leeds this season. And I think they need to add a little bit more as well, because I think Leeds is one of those clubs, especially with Bielsa there as well. They could be at least challenging top 6 and should be. They're a big enough club. And when the fans are back next season at Ellen Road, good Lord, try to go to Ellen Road and get a result when there's fans there. Yeah. It's one of the hardest grounds to go to.
My uncle Davey is a Leeds supporter, and we were talking last week saying fans are back. He said we go over to Ellen Road for the Liverpool Leeds game and then vice versa to Anfield and all. But being in Ellen Road before, when that place is packed, that's one of those places you need to go and watch football. Forget all about these big stadiums over in your South America and all. Ellen Road on a good day when the team is doing well and it's full to the brim is rocking.
Absolutely. So we look forward to Leeds again next season. I mean, no doubt they will strengthen, but there's a good core there to build from as well. And Bielsa, he's outstanding manager. West Ham valuing Declan Rice at 90 million. Football's gone mad.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Well, I'm not surprised in terms of who's looking to sign him, being quoted 90 million. But,
we know who has the money to just go out and throw 90 million at him. Chelsea, Yeah. I hate him for the whole Ireland thing. But what a player. But 90 million. There was talk last week that Mo Salah is valued at 80 million. If Declan Rice is valued at 90 million, Mo Salah should easily be about 160 million.
If not easily. More. If not more.
Darren said in the group in our WhatsApp group the other night, if you're young and you're English, the inflation rate is through the roof, and it sickens me because half of these English players are fucking awful, but the money getting thrown at them. That's the problem. England aren't going to win the Euros this summer, okay? If they do, I'll eat a bowl full of my own shit, okay?
Jesus.
No, see the thing with it, every time a generation comes through, or 5 or 6 players are any use, it's the golden generation. They couldn't win a major tournament with arguably their best team ever when they had Lampard, when they had Gerrard, when they had Michael Owen, when they had David Beckham, when they had John Terry. They couldn't win a trophy with that, which was their best ever team. They're not getting anywhere near it this season. Every qualifying tournament or qualification group that comes around, it's the easiest group ever. They waltz through it. They get a bit of confidence behind them. The whole nation comes in behind them as this is their year. It's not their year. They don't get tested. These players, because they're English and the inflation rate is through the roof, and there's so much praise and smoke around them, and they never ever live up to that expectation. I'd love Liverpool to sign Declan Rice, but at 90 million, not a chance.
Not a chance. Arsenal on alert again this week. One Wilfred Zaha coming out and saying he wouldn't turn down a summer move. Well, of course he wouldn't turn down a summer move. But looking at the money that Crystal Palace would want for Wilfred Zaha, if West Ham want 90 million for Declan Rice, Arsenal ain't gonna pony up that money, sure they're not.
Not a chance. And see the thing with Palace, Niall, they've so many players out of contract that Zaha has to get out this summer because the next season is the unknown. Is Steve Parish going to plough in a load of money to build a new squad? I think Palace get relegated next season. solely because I don't think they have the money to replace all those players that are leaving and build a squad capable. It's going to be like coming up with a new squad. He's definitely going to sell Zaha this year, but how much are they looking at? Because if Declan Rice is worth 90 million, Zaha is worth 90 million at least, in my opinion.
Yeah, no one's going to pay that.
No.
Plus, they also lost the young kid there, Easy, who was outstanding. He did his Achilles as well. So the talk is he may not be back till nearly Christmas.
That's a bonus for us today. Absolutely outstanding player. Yeah. All the best on his recovery. I hate seeing good like young players coming through that are unbelievable. He's an outstanding player. Yeah. And an injury, you know as well as I do, ankle injuries, knee injuries, and especially look Alan Shearer over the years, Achilles injuries. You know, that's for a footballer, that's your backbone, your spring. Yeah. Especially for a winger who's sprinting a lot. Yeah. I hope it works out for him, because I'm dying to see where he is in 3 or 4 years. He had a great season last year in the Championship. He came onto the scene in the Premier League and he set it alight. So you might come across the upper tier, lads. All the best with your recovery.
Absolutely. I suppose we have to congratulate Atletico Madrid on winning La Liga. But how bizarre was Barcelona selling Luis Suarez? I mean, it's really come back to bite them, hasn't it, when you think about it?
It's the weirdest decision I've seen of football in the last 10 years. You know, if Suarez stays at Barcelona win the league, in my opinion. I think they looked at him and said, right, well, Griezmann and Dembele are younger, so we get more of a run out of those. But who's had the last laugh? As much as we love to hate Suarez sometimes for his celebrations against Liverpool and all, that fella's a born winner. You know, he was fucked out of Barcelona last summer. He didn't want to leave. Atletico Madrid put their trust in him, gave him a chance, and he fired him. He's fired him to the league. To see him sitting on the pitch last night, genuinely sobbing his heart out with happiness. We seen it for all the wrong reasons against Palace there a few years ago.
Don't mention that game.
Let's not talk about Palace. To see it work out for him, to see it work out for him, and to see that joy and the happiness in him, you know. We all love Luis Suarez, don't we? So fair play to him. But the best thing about it was last night, Simone, in an interview, he was like, Diego, anything to say? And he was like, yeah, just want to tell Barcelona that we loved them. And they were like, why? And he was like, they gave us Luis Suarez. He won the league.
Absolutely, yeah. Scary thing is Liverpool's being linked with Antonio Griezmann this week in terms of a £50 million move. I don't see that happening at all.
No, the only way I take Antoine Griezmann is if Barcelona still owe us about 40 or 50 million and they give us to him on a free.
And the 50 million.
I take Luis Suarez. I take Suarez back before I take Antoine Griezmann back. Again, it was a case of exactly like Torres at Liverpool when Griezmann was at Atletico. You're loved by the crowd. You know, you're the hero in the team. You're scoring goals week in, week out. You have that rapport with the Torres goes to Chelsea. Too many egos. Club thinks it's bigger than you'll ever be, and you're kind of in the shadows. That's exactly what's happened to Griezmann at Barcelona. It was too big a club for him, too soon, in my opinion. He should have stayed at Atletico for another year. He went to Barcelona thinking the world was going to be his oyster and win everything. And look, Atletico won the league and Barcelona didn't.
Yeah. What's your thinking on Jurgen Klopp this week coming out and mentioning that no decision has been made on Ozan Kabak yet? Do you think it's a given we should sign him, plough in the 18 million, or do you think with being linked with Konate and obviously Joe Gomez coming back, Virgil van Dijk coming back, Nat Phillips stepping up, I would assume Kabak is in ahead of Reece Williams in terms of the pecking order. And I suppose 18 million, it's not a huge outlay, really, is it?
No.
What do you think? Sign him up?
You know, he came in on loan it was a win-win situation for us. You know what I mean? There was nothing to lose there. The first game that I watched them, that I was off to watch him, was against Leicester, and I thought to myself, he's not going to settle in at all. And just as time went by, he just solidified himself in that defence. For such a young lad, the only thing I will say about him is his tactical awareness. But you're only going to, pre-season with Virgil van Dijk, with Joe Gomez, with Ben Davies, you're only going to learn from the best. Absolutely. But the worry about it is, Niall, is what's Klopp thinking on Joel Matip? In my opinion, I love Joel Matip. I'd rather him beside Virgil van Dijk than Joe Gomez. I just think Joel Matip is calmness personified. But because he's made out of Ritz tea biscuits, he's probably going to look at selling him. If he's not looking at selling him, you're left with Matip, Gomez, Virgil van Dijk, Nat Phillips. Reece Williams is probably going to go out on loan. That's possibly a definite. Konate is supposed to be coming in. So then you're thinking, what's going to happen with Quebec? A report came out of Bild in Germany during the week that when the Konate deal is done for Liverpool, that Leipzig are going to look to sign Kabak as his replacement. Klopp has came out yesterday and he said, I'm going to sit down with him Sunday night and have a chat with him. I believe that he'll tell him, look, I want to sign you. You're not going to play every week. Leipzig probably are going to guarantee a football because Konate and Upamecano are gone. So I believe it's in the player's hands. I know he said he wants to stay at Liverpool. But being a young kid, the opportunity to play every week at Leipzig, whereas you can stay at Liverpool, play a big part, possibly win a medal or two. I think it's in his hands more than the club's.
I wonder, would there be an option there? Would it be a bit of shrewd business by Mike Edwards to sign Kabak and loan him out to Leipzig?
Yeah, I was just going to say that there. That makes so much sense, because you have the option then, if, knock on wood, if we get any bad injuries, you have to look. Part of the agreement was if the shit hits the fan here like it did last season, he comes back to us.
Yeah,
that's the obvious one.
Plus, you would imagine with Kabak as well, regular football in the Bundesliga with Leipzig, he's only going to get better and improve, which means his value is only going to increase.
Yeah, see, the worry, Niall, is Konate is not like. I'm excited to sign him. 34, 35 million of football is pittance nowadays. He hasn't got a game at all at Leipzig recently when he came back from injury. I know he came back from injury.
Yeah.
But was that a case of he didn't get picked for the France squad for the Euros as well. Yeah. So look, I presume he's signing for Liverpool. He's going to get in and have a full pre-season, which is only going to benefit him. He's going to be working with some of the best sports scientists and doctors in the game. But he's not exactly, even when he was fully fit, he wasn't really playing much. So that's the worry with him. Like, I know 35 million isn't really a big ask.
Yeah.
Would you rather Quebec stayed and played every week, or would you rather we sign Konate at little risk and send Quebec on loan?
I'd probably go down the road of Konate, because if you look at the risk of his injuries and stuff like that, a lot of people talk about his injuries, but it's really one bad injury that he had. When you think about it, and anyone can have that. I mean, look at what happened to Virgil, look at what happened to Joe Gomez. It doesn't devalue them as a player, But I think if you have Konate there, I think you have a different level of competition in that central defense area than if you have Ozan Kabak on the bench. I mean, Ozan Kabak on the bench is going to be back up to the boys, but he's not going to be back up in that competitive level. Yeah. It's not like the way we brought in Jota, and Jota brings competitive level to the front three. As opposed to say Shaqiri or Origi do, you know what I mean? It's a different level.
I think we'll see next year as well. One of my pet peeves with Liverpool is when teams decide to just build a wall of 10 defenders and it's a side-to-side backwards passing job. I think Klopp is looking at having the extra centre halves to play three at the back and have Robbo and Trent. We're definitely going to see a couple of different setups from Liverpool next year. It's not going to be your 4-3-3. Klopp will know this season when teams have sat back, we haven't had anything to break them down, and he's probably looking at, your Virgil van Dijk, Joe Gomez, and Konate, your Virgil van Dijk, Matip, and Konate, your Virgil van Dijk, you've Joe Gomez and Matip, with the two boys pushed up, and then you've Fabinho sitting in front of the back three, and then you've the other two boys sitting around. That's why I'm so excited for next year. Is like, when we're going to replace the deadwood, we're going to bring in a couple of squad players, but there is definitely going to be 2 or 3 players coming in that the lads are going to be like, I need to pull my socks up.
Yeah. Well, we've seen this season with Chelsea and Man City as well. I mean, your bench is not just a throwaway. Your bench has to be competitive. You have to have nearly like those 2 11s, if you like. And our level on the bench there needs to be raised greatly. And I think that's part of his thinking this year as well. News coming out this week: Bruno Fernandes, new deal at Man United, nearly triple his wage. Gone from about, I think, 80,000 up to 200,000. I mean, he certainly made a case for it, hasn't he?
I take the piss out of him and United necessarily because it's Man United. Well, you take him out of that Man United team this year, and they're probably sitting at 6th or 7th on the table. He's got them out of a hole so many times. He's got them out of a hole that many times that he kind of went off the boil after Christmas, and they're still second in the table, preferably because of what he done in the team before Christmas. I do think that he needs to step up more in the bigger games. That's probably the only thing I'll say about him. We all take the piss out of him when he only scores penalties and all. If Mo Salah scored that many penalties, I wouldn't be sitting here talking, saying, he's better than just penalties, or take it on the chin with a pinch of salt. If he was to have a good Euros, come back sky high, full of confidence, and just lifted it that 15-20% more in the bigger games, that means United lift their performance up 15-20%. And next year is going to be a mouth-watering prospect, because we talked about teams that are going to be trying to catch City. There's not much City can do to better themselves, whereas United can better themselves. Liverpool are going to better themselves. Chelsea are going to better themselves. Leicester will come again. Next year is going to be absolutely mouth-watering. But I can see why Man United are giving him that money. There's clubs out there who'll have the money to buy him out of his contract, and unfortunately nowadays you have to give players 250 grand a week to keep them happy and keep them at the club. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Fabrizio Romano came out this week with probably the worst kept secret in football, that Danny Ceballos will not be re-signing for Arsenal. The player's only short of coming out and quoting it himself.
I tweeted Fabrizio Romano that a few months ago. I was like, here we go. Everyone knew that. I said, there's people buried in Mount Jerome that know he's not re-signing for it.
Absolutely. Interesting one though, isn't it? Like, just I'm out of here kind of thing. And the interesting thing, I think, is that Real turned around and said they don't want him back either. He needs to find a new home. So he doesn't want Arsenal, and the owners don't want him either. So it's an interesting conundrum. Jurgen Klopp this week made a claim about Gini Wijnaldum, that Gini leaving the club, it's not a done deal yet, that he could still stay. Do you see a situation like if we were to make top 4 and get into the Champions League, he'd hang out?
Niall, his agent reached out to Munich. They've lost Alaba, they've lost Javi Martinez, and can't think the other geezer's name. I do, but he obviously wants a new, a fresh challenge. He's champion of everything at Liverpool. He's been so consistent at Liverpool. He's been guilty of, for the last 2 or 3 months, kind of taking his eye off the ball for whatever reason. He's probably looking at, I'm looking for a new move, and I've got the Euros coming up, and why should I bust me bollocks, and blah, 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 X, Y, and Z. The weird thing about this deal is, look at Alaba. Came out in January when his contract was coming to an end and said, I'm off in the summer. How many times in seasons previous that players, their contracts coming to an end, they come out early after Christmas and say, I want to thank the fans. I'm looking forward to the next move in my career. Genie loves the club so much that you know for a fact that there's about 10% of his brain that's sitting there thinking, do I really want to leave here? I'm loved so much. I'm a cult hero. Like, I've got Virgil van Dijk as one of my best mates at the club. You know, you look at the atmosphere in the team when that documentary, The End of the Storm, came out and all. It's not a done deal. That's what I said on the preview for the Palace game that's coming up. That's why I thank him if he is going to leave. It's just so strange that Klopp has came out and said, well, no, he hasn't. Klopp has said that it's not a given, but the report came out from the club during the week that they don't want to come out and say he's leaving. They want him to come out after today and once and for all, I'm off in the summer or I'm staying. Leave it in his hands, which I think it should be to every player, you know, because what happens is if he comes out and says it, you know, I've no problem with him leaving. We'll replace him. But if the club come out and say it, you know, then you get all spun as the club didn't want him and this, and you know as well as I do over the years. It's so fucking weird that it still hasn't been announced yet.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is he has a contract offer there from Liverpool. And apparently he also has a 3-year contract there from Bayern Munich. Barcelona haven't made any moves on him yet, which is where he actually wanted to go. But so he has the offers that are there. He just has to weigh up, you know, whether he wants to stay at Liverpool, take up that offer, or whether he wants to head off to Bayern. I don't know. You know, the Bayern one for me would be a weird one. I think maybe he was expecting Barcelona to come in, but they haven't come in yet. So we shall see. But it'd be very beneficial for us if he was to turn around today and go, look, I'm going to stay here, Champions League football, take up a new contract, you know. Quick fire one for you. Danny Ings to Man United. I'm thinking not a chance.
What?
It was reported this week that Danny Ings had been linked with Manchester United.
No.
Don't say it.
No. If that happens, he is so loved at Liverpool Football Club. Like, he's genuinely loved, like he still plays there. If he signs for Man United, I'm renting a fucking a 40-wheel rig. I'll drive through his fucking house. No. Danny Ings, no.
Fair enough.
I can't see him going to Man United, Niall. I know, quick point. I can't see him going to Man United. He's injury prone, but United already have too many attackers. As much as I hate United, I've said it week in, week out. United need a centre half, and they need to replace either Fred or McTominay. The inconsistency is defence and in the central midfield, not attack. Rashford plays on the left. Rashford has to play. Greenwood has to play, and I'd imagine Harry Kane.
I don't know. Does Rashford have to play when they've been putting Pogba out there? That's the conundrum.
Pogba's going to leave eventually, Niall. Pogba won't stay there.
Yeah. Another quick fire one for you. Obviously, Spurs came out this week. Daniel Levy slapped a price tag on Harry Kane, anywhere between 120 and 150 million. Where do you see him going, or do you see him going somewhere? Where's he going to go? He's obviously not going to go for that type of money, but where do you see him going?
The only place I see him going is Man City, unfortunately. But with the money that's being talked between 120 and 150 million, 2 dodgy ankles, why are you going to spend 120 to 150 million to rotate possibly the best striker in world football and trying to manage his game time because he has 2 dodgy ankles? I see him staying at Spurs, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I don't think Spurs don't necessarily have to let him go either. I think there's 3 years to run on his contract. Didn't he sign a 6-year contract? So there's 3 years to run on that.
He's not going to go for less than 100 million. So you'd want to be fucking. If you're going to spend 100 million on Harry Kane, why not just go out and spend 120 million on Erling Haaland?
I suppose the wages is a stumbling block in that deal, not so much the fee. Harry Kane ain't going to be getting paid 600 grand anywhere.
No, but the talk of Man City is that Sterling's been awful this year. You know, you forget he even plays football this season because he's not done much at all. But he's getting a new deal. He's getting a new deal that's supposed to be worth 350 grand a week.
He was also linked with Real.
Well, this is the thing, though. We talked about this last week. The decline in standard in European football has been awful this season. So Real Madrid are going to be looking at, Chelsea turning them a new arsehole and saying, look, we need to get 3 or 4 players in here to get back to the level we are. Barcelona can go out and try all they want. For me, Barcelona are done for another 4 or 5 years. There's a big recycling going on there. The players that they don't have those lads coming through from La Masia anymore. It's not the homegrown. You're completely invested in the club anymore. It's going out and trying to buy these players. And you look at some of the players that they brought in over the last couple of years, really, really bad, have done absolutely nothing. Aguero was supposed to be their big signing in the summer. A 32-year, what's he, 32, 33?
Mm.
He's supposed to be the big signing in the summer. Barcelona aren't getting anywhere near it again. Juventus, big day in Serie A today. Napoli are facing Verona. Juventus are playing Bologna. Juventus missing out on Champions League football, as we talked about last week. Buffon is gone. Chiellini could go. Bonucci could go. Ronaldo being the pussy bitch that he is. I'm too big for the club. There's no Champions League football. I'm fucking off.
And reports he's already moving some of his key assets back to Lisbon.
I've seen that, yeah.
Which doesn't bode well.
It's like a domino effect in European football. Me and Darren were talking about last week. There's a domino effect coming in European football this year, whereas you're going to have one big player leaving from a club, and what's going to happen is it's going to be a chain of events where X is going to move to Y is going to move to Z, and it's just going to be a merry-go-round. That's why, folks, if you love football, the upper tier transfer show all summer, it's the place to be.
100%. Let's finish out then with that beautiful man behind you there. Are we looking at Mbappe 2021?
Hold on. Let me just get myself into the shot with him. He said he wants to sign. Just tell him yourself. I'm going to put my cards on the table here. Liverpool are going to get Champions League football today, and there's going to be a massive shockwave in football during the summer. When Jim White is on Sky Sports News, he goes, well, now, we've got breaking news coming in from Liverpool. Kylian Mbappe has just signed a 5-year deal. And let's go to Anfield now, and it's just a horde of Liverpool fans having an orgy outside the Kop in euphoria.
Can you imagine a situation as crazy as it would be that we sail Champions League football today? Obviously, the players are out on the pitch walking around saying thanks to the fans for being back, obviously, nearly the first game.
Imagine he walked out.
And imagine the deal had already been done with Mike Edwards, and he just walks out with the Liverpool suit on him, and we have Mbappe 2021. Because we love doing our business early. We don't mess about.
Imagine they'd already sat down and talked about this. And look, a player like Kylian Mbappe says, you need to have Champions League football. You're not going to turn around. I know Klopp loves all this. If we don't get Champions League football and a player doesn't want to be here, I'm not interested. Kylian Mbappe turns around and says, if you get Champions League football, I'll sign 100%. Imagine final whistle goes today, the place goes bananas, and then within an hour or two, there's breaking news that Liverpool have reached an agreement. Personal terms have been agreed. Nike are going to pay 70% of his wages. Oh, stop.
And out comes a TikTok video, and Mbappe's there shooting hoops with LeBron.
And Paul Pogba's face in the little square, and I just no anger throwing the ball at him. You cunt.
Oh, can you imagine?
And then during the summer, a story breaks from the French European, the Euros camp. Kylian Mbappe snaps Paul Pogba in half for being a man cunt.
Oh, well, this has been our weekly roundup of the transfers. Absolutely classic.
Come on, you read.
Excellent. Till next time, Dynamo Podcast Network, YouTube, head over there for all the upper tier shows and upper transfer shows, which will be continuing throughout the summer. We'll also be bringing online a Euros weekly show as well, where we'll be looking at all the Euro matches and stuff like that as well. And
so any hot Swedish women want to come on to talk chat with the lads, you know where to find us.
And we'll also be continuing our Legend series and also our exclusive interviews all throughout the summer, bringing you some great content. Head over to Anchor for audio versions of the show. And if you want to hit us up, you'll get us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at The Upper Tier. Get over there, hit us up, let us know your comments in the YouTube videos, anything you want us to discuss in the show, anything we want to do. Pleasure as always, Dean. Till next time. Cheers, bud.